Hello, Internet! It is time for Blogging411, and today we are joined by a special guest to talk about Blogger Rehab. We're going to run you through a little clinic today. What things have you been doing wrong? What are the big questions you should have answered for yourself by now? What are common mistakes? Those sorts of things. We're going to rehab your blog. If you're feeling stale, tired, if you're not getting the traffic you want, the hits you want, the responses you want, you're in the right place. And we're going to do it in 30 minutes. So I am Allison Carter. I'm co-founder of the North Carolina Blogger Network, who's hosting us today. Make sure you subscribe to our channel where we have 30 episodes of Blogging 411. And I'm excited to allow my co-host to introduce herself right now.
Hi everybody, I'm Mrs. T from Mrs. T Love Life Laughter, where I write about my love, my life, and my laughter. I'm also one of the regional ambassadors for North Carolina Blogger Network, and I can't wait to rehab our blogs with you guys.
Awesome, and so let us introduce our guest. I am super excited she's here to talk to us in person. She's been a blog friend of mine for a while. She has an amazing website, and I will let NJ take it away.
Hi everyone, I'm NJ Rongner and I blog at acookiebefore-dinner.com where I encourage my readers to chase a sweet life well lived.
And NJ is a virtual assistant as well, and she's got all sorts of things in the fire, big exciting things that are coming up for her as well, so you want to check out her blog to see where she's going and what she's doing. But the main reason that she's here is because she started a series on her blog that caught my attention immediately called Blogger Rehab. NJ, can you just kind of describe the inspiration for that and why you think bloggers need rehab?
Well, I think all bloggers need to go to rehab. I think that they need to take some time away from their website and really refresh their souls. And if they refresh their souls, then they're going to be excited to refresh their blog.
I totally agree with that. And did you not, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you not take a personal break from your blog for a little while too?
I try to take a couple weeks a year where I am away from life online, but life online is still going. So it's very sneaky.
And your blog doesn't tank? I have this fear, and I think a lot of bloggers have a fear that if we let it go for a couple of weeks, we're just going to lose everything that we've built.
I don't think that that's true. I think that there are some very passive ways that you can keep your blog going so that you can work efficiently ahead of time, so that you can step away from the blog and still have things going.
Exactly. That sounds like what you're kind of saying is it's all in the scheduling. Because I know when I had my blogiversary, I started planning for it like 2 or 3 months ahead of time because I knew I was also going on vacation. So I had to plot out a calendar for there to be guest posters and da-da-da. And honestly, nobody noticed that I personally wasn't there. So I think it's all about scheduling. Don't you agree, NJ?
I definitely think so, and I think that it's an ego problem. Like, we personally think that if we disappear, that our blog is over because we have too much pride in ourselves and our blog. But if we would just trust the tools that are out there, you would realize that you can step away and still keep your numbers.
Oh my gosh, we're like a couple minutes in and already my head's exploding and I have all these questions. Right? I think it is such an important point that you make. And again, I'm all over the place. So let's back up and walk us through some of the tools that you can give to bloggers to recommend if they're going to rehab, take a second to get recentered and step away from their blog a little while. What specific tools do you think that they should look into?
The first one is a WordPress plugin. It's a premium plugin, so you're going to pay for it, but it's called CoSchedule, and it is the big daddy scheduling thing. It's an editorial calendar, and what's great about it is right on your WordPress dashboard, when you are crafting your post, you can craft social media to start firing out when that post publishes. So you want to you're going on vacation in July, it's April, you've got a post that you want to bank, you write it up, you put it in CoSchedule, you set the social media, you set it for July, and you forget about it.
That's awesome. That definitely sounds like a tool anybody would want to have in their back pocket. And like you said, some things that are premium, sometimes bloggers get scared of it, because if you're not a blog who's pulling in a lot of money, sometimes you're like, oh my God, I have to put money out just to try to do this. But there are times when it's totally worth it. And that definitely sounds like one of those times.
Yeah, it's worth the investment, especially because the way that CoSchedule has structured itself, it's very affordable. So if you write a review about CoSchedule on your blog, they knock down the price to 50% every month. So it starts at $10 and then it goes to $5. And then if you refer somebody and they start paying for it, then you save another 10%. So you can essentially get CoSchedule for free.
That's awesome. I had no idea about that. I've seen CoSchedule floating around. I've even seen a bunch of bloggers reviewing it, but I had no idea that they had that system set up. And that's great, especially for a smaller blogger who's not bringing in a lot of income.
Right.
Let me ask this follow-up question, though, because I know that when it comes to social media, responding and sharing other things is really important, too. So when we go into our blogger rehab time and we're going to kind of reassess our goals, take a step back, and we've scheduled our posts to go out on our social media to go out and CoSchedule, how do you then deal with the fact that you want to be sitting on the beach checking your Twitter to see if anybody responded, or you want to get in there on Facebook? Those are hard habits to break, right? So are there any tricks or tools when we step back and we rehab ourselves to modify that when we do step away?
Well, I think the biggest thing to ask yourself is, what's really going to happen if I don't check social media for a couple days? Is somebody going to die? Am I going to get arrested? Am I going to file bankruptcy? Am I going to have a major life event that happens if I am off of Twitter and Instagram and Facebook for a couple days?
I love that.
The answer is no. The world does not revolve around you, bloggers. There's a big world, and you need to go and live it and be happy and not be so married to social media.
I love
True.
that.
And I think it's a lot of times, like you said, bloggers, we really honestly think like we have to be present all the time. But I know recently I had to take my own personal blogger rehab because I was just getting overwhelmed and I couldn't write. Like I just totally was blocked. And I found out it was because I wasn't out doing stuff. Like how do you write about anything if you're not actually doing anything? So that's like such a key point that you mentioned, NJ. Sometimes you just have to say, you know what? Everything, the wheels will keep turning if I go away for a little while. It's not going to just totally crash and burn.
So I love that point. I think that that's so important. And one of the things that I would love for you to kind of back us into, NJ, is how do you know when you're ready for a rehab? How do you know when you're at the point that you need to reconsider some things, step away, and look at things differently? How do you know?
I think that you know when you start seeing everybody else and everybody else's successes, and instead of being able to pull up behind them and celebrate them, you're jealous.
Mm-hmm.
You are jealous of somebody else's successes, and you can't pull from a place where you can celebrate and encourage, then you need to go back and you need to have a heart check. And you need to consider, like, why are you even blogging in the first place? If you're spending so many hours on this labor of love, you have to make it matter.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's so true. So what are some of the major questions when you're in your rehab time and you're doing your blogger rehab? And the other thing that I think is really interesting about this whole series, and I don't know if we made this clear in the promotion leading up to it, this isn't about your blog rehab, right? This isn't about what you could do differently on your screen. We talk about that a lot in Blogging411 and on the NC Blogger Network blog. Like, this is about the blogger, right? The person behind the screen. And I think that that is so key to understand. And Jay, can you kind of say, what are the top questions when you're in this time, when you're kind of rehabbing yourself for your blog as a blogger? What are the top questions, maybe 2 or 3 questions that you should ask yourself and consider?
Why are you blogging? Who are you blogging for? And why does it matter? If you can't answer those 3 questions, then you are running a race that is not going to end up successful. You are on a hamster wheel, and you are going to run yourself ragged.
Is it okay if I'm in my rehab time and I realize, like, I want to make some money? Is that okay? Or do you think that leads to burnout?
It does not lead. It does not lead to burnout. I think that you are pouring into a life online. You are creating content, and if your content has value, then you need to find a way to bring that value to you. And so maybe that is getting to go on a press trip, or maybe it is getting to have a balance bike sent to you that you might not be otherwise able to afford, or maybe it's straight up cold hard cash. I mean, I think that bloggers a lot of times think that sponsored posts is a dirty word, and it's not a dirty thing at all. What's dirty is if you just solely blog for money and you don't care about your readers anymore.
Exactly. And I think a lot of us think or look down on sponsors when we forget to actually think about the content. You have to be picky. It's your blog, it's your site, it's your baby. Just because someone puts a $ in front of your face, we have to remember, okay, does this fit with my brand? Does it fit with what I'm putting out there for my readers? If it does, then go for it. There's no reason why you shouldn't. I don't think so anyway.
But I can definitely tell that there are some blogs that I've been following for a while that have all of a sudden become all sponsored posts, and they've lost me. Like they have, and it's funny because when I think about the blogger behind the screen, I want to applaud them and be like, yes, you should be getting stuff. You worked hard. You got me in the beginning, but I can also tell that content getting stale, and I can also feel as though they're not as passionate about what they're doing, and I miss that voice. Like, I really miss that. And one of the big things that happened in the blogosphere over the past year was big bloggers like Young House Love have dropped out because of this exact dilemma, right? Like, how do you keep the passion? How do you keep going? But at the same time, you know it's a business and you're treating it as a business. Like, what are the steps that you can take to balance that, to be a happy blogger, remember why you're doing it, but at the same time, get the dough and make it a business?
Yeah, I mean, there's a way to do that, and I think it goes back to you have to know who your reader is. You have to know what they love and what they don't love and what kind of problems they have and what kind of problems they don't have. And you need to make your sponsored posts work for you. Instead of just barfing out the key points that the brand has given you, you need to find a way to recraft those key points into a story that has value. One of the things that if you come to a cookie before dinner, sometimes there are back-to-back-to-back sponsored posts or reviews, but you wouldn't ever know it because the content is so evergreen that it works for me.
And brands like that better too. Brands and products like that better too.
They do. So, like, here's an example. This past week, I published a post about tips to questions that you need to ask yourself before you post pictures of your kids online on social media.
That was a great post.
That was a sponsored post. That was a post that was sponsored by a video app where you can make really professional quality movies, and then you can upload them to YouTube, or you can text them or email them. And so it's like a puzzle is what it is with sponsored posts. You have to find a way to make it work for everybody, including your readers, because your readers are the reason why you're getting those sponsored posts. And if you get greedy, guess what? You're done.
So that's so interesting, because one of the things that the Blogger Network's working on right now is we have Blogging Concentrated coming to Raleigh and Charlotte very soon in March of this year. And one of the things that they're really big about when we talked to them, Tiffany and Nicole did a show with them on the last Blogging 411, and they're really clear, like, know who your readers are and talk to your readers, and your readers will give you content for other posts. Like, I know a lot of us get super, super duper excited when we get all these comments, when we enjoy, you know, linky parties and that sort of thing. But I think one of the exercises that you can do for yourself when you're in rehab is, what's my community and who am I talking to? Like, I love my linky parties because I know on my personal writing blog, I'm looking for the support of a writing community and other writers, and those are the people I need to be talking to, right? So I know that that works for me, but if you're really trying to get a general wider population, maybe some of those linky parties aren't so great. And I think that's one of the things that you can really look at for yourself when you're in your rehab time, right?
Absolutely. And I think one thing that bloggers don't seem to like to do is they don't like to ask for feedback from their communities. But if you say to your community, hey guys, I'm thinking about doing some frequently asked questions. What do you guys want to know? What do you want to know from me? What am I an expert about, or what do you think that I'm an expert about that you want to know more? And the answers might surprise you. It might be something really dumb, like, where do you get your stock photos? Or it might be something really, really amazing, which, by the way, that isn't a dumb question. But it might be something really amazing, like, hey, I know that you're up really early every day at 4:30. What do you do during that time? And that might jump into a whole series about why you get up early and what you do and how you plan your day and what kind of coffee you drink. And
well, I know for me it's really funny because I love comments, right? Like, comments are the only true proof that I feel like I have that people are listening or reading. And typically, and this is a sweeping broad generalization, I know, but I think you guys will agree with me, typically it's only other bloggers who leave comments because they understand how much comments mean. So then I get into this cycle of like, I want more comments, so I need to talk to these people because these people are going to leave me these comments, and that doesn't mean that the general public isn't reading. And I think that for me, when I took my little break, and I'll be honest, like my rehab break was also driven by my school schedule with my children and when they were home with me during the summer. You know, that was one of the things that I had to really flesh out for myself, like, you know, am I going for comments? Am I going for page views? Am I going for sponsorships? And I think that that's a huge question that you can ask yourself when you're in your rehab time.
I agree.
Because we all want engagement, and I think that's where the comments come in, because you want to feel like your readers are engaged with whatever content you're putting out there. But there is a time where you feel like you're in this cycle where you're just blogging for other bloggers, and I think that's a little bit of what we talked about with Dan and Rachel in the last Blogging411 is you don't want to get into that I'm just blogging for other bloggers to read my blog. You want to know that you're actually reaching other people in your demographics. And unfortunately, like you said, a lot of non-bloggers don't comment because they don't want to sign in, they don't want to be bothered with putting their name and their email and blah, blah, blah. Because I've had family members that will text me or direct message me like a full-on comment on a post in my inbox, and I'm like, oh my God, why couldn't you just write it on the post so other people could see? And it's just like, okay, you just have to know that the content is meeting its purpose, and it's not always easy, but it is always worth it, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that I think it's really dangerous and it's not an efficient use of your time if you start blogging just for other bloggers and then visiting their blogs and commenting just because you want them to come and comment back.
Yeah.
I recently completely switched up the way that I leave comments on blogs. And I've decided that I'm done doing the comment for comment things most times. I want engagement with the people that want to engage with me. I want to read blogs because I enjoy them, not because it's something that they're going to come and leave a comment back. And that I'm going to just trust the process, and I'm going to trust the foundation that I am laying. You know, I'm going to trust that my evergreen posts are going to do well on Pinterest. I'm going to trust that the keywords that I have specifically targeted in SEO are going to be fruitful, because it's more efficient than spending 5 hours commenting on blogs.
And it's a great way to work smarter and not harder, because a lot of times when you get caught up in the comment threads, and I've done them, I still do them here and there, but I like the ones where you can pick the content you comment on, because sometimes you'll get people who comment just because they're obligated to by the thread, and the comment is just generic, or I've had comments where I've read them back and I'm like, you didn't even read the post. Like, I totally know you didn't read the post because this comment has nothing to do with anything I said above. Like, what were you looking at? So it can become like a hole that you dig yourself into. And I agree with NJ. I totally love the organic engagement where you know the person actually came there to read what you put out because you put it out there. And I like the same thing to go forward when I go to people's blogs. It's just so much more fulfilling. And I think that's what the foundation of a blog is, to try to share what makes you happy with someone else who could probably relate to the same thing. And I think that's a lot of where the blogger burnout can come in. And I know that's why I had to protect myself into rehab, because I was totally like just done. And rehab it helped me a lot. It really did.
And I think that, Tiffany, you hit some nails on the head that are just really important. Like, you know, also your content matters. And NJ, maybe you can speak a little bit to that too. And I remember reading your Blogger Rehab series, you had a quote that was something to the point of, your blog is about you, but it's not necessarily for you. Like, it's about you, but it's for your reader. And I would love if you could kind of talk about, when you're in your rehab, how you should reconsider your content and what's on your site. Like, when you're in a rehab, do you recommend that people get into their analytics and see what's working, or do you think you just like go completely like dark from your blog and just kind of take a second and reconnect? What do you think is the best idea for that?
Well, I think that if you are somebody who is particularly numbers focused, it's probably not a good idea to obsess even further about your numbers. I think that Kat Lee is the person who said that quote, that your blog is about you, but it's for the world. And we all have our own unique gifts and our own unique passions and talents, and we don't want to just hold them for ourselves. That's really selfish. So if you just start to change your mindset and instead think, okay, what do I know about that could encourage somebody else? What am I struggling with that maybe somebody else is struggling with too? What have I gone through that if I am brave and bold in my writing about is going to help somebody else?
Can I stop for just a second, because we were just talking about this before we started the broadcast. I know that if I did that in a Blogger Rehab, I would come out and completely rebrand and probably start like 3 new blogs. How do you recommend to a person and a blogger, like, okay, so you've come out of your Blogger Rehab, you've kind of reassessed who you are and what you've got going on and what you want to write about. So do I have to come out and like start over again from scratch if I feel like my blog really went the wrong way for a while? Like, what are my actionable steps after I get out of that rehab time?
I think that you need to start acting like the blogger that you want to be. I think that you don't need to completely scrap your platform that you've worked so hard to build. I mean, that would be not a good way to use what you've already invested in. But I think that you can share what you learned with your readers and let them know that they're going to expect some changes. And then even change up your tabs or your most popular posts or the things so that you can start reflecting on your site the blog that you want to be.
I love that.
And I think if you have true followers, most of them will totally understand it. Because like if and 9 out of 10, they've probably noticed the change in your writing anyway.
I have to tell you, the posts that always get me when I'm in my Feedly, and NJ does this thing where she'll actually assess her goals for every month. I get hooked on those. I love seeing people's interior processes, and I think that, I guess, if you come out of a Blogger Rehab time and you do a heartfelt post about, like, this is where I've been, this is what I'm doing, I think that readers are okay with that. I think that there's a certain amount of showing yourself to them that's okay.
Yeah, I think that readers and your true core will love, because they're already invested in you, they will love a state of the blog update where you just say, hey, you know what, I took some time to reflect. These are the things that worked for me. These are the things that aren't working for me. These are the things that I think are working for you, and these are the things that I don't think are working for you. So these are the changes that you can expect going forward.
Those are all great questions. Everybody who's listening should rewind that and write those questions down.
Definitely.
Or you should just buy Laura Casey's Power Sheets and go through her process because.
You know I have a soft spot for Laura Casey.
Oh, me too.
She is actually, we've got her lined up to do a network lunch for members only, so we get access to pick her brain. I'm so excited.
That means everybody needs to become a member, like ASAP. So you can get in on that.
I'm just going to come down.
Hey, come on. We love visitors.
So let me ask, because I know we're getting kind of short on time, what can we do over the course of our day-to-day blogging when we're not taking our time away to make sure that we're not burning out or that we're not, like, in another 2 weeks getting caught up in it all again and saying, oh my gosh, I need another rehab moment. I got caught up again. What are the steps that we can kind of take to maybe change habits or change mindsets or things that we can do to make sure that we're not having to rehab ourselves every month?
We don't want to relapse.
Right.
I think that if you don't want to relapse, the first thing that you need to do, and you need to write this down, and you need to put it on your wall, you need to put it on a Post-it note next to your laptop, wherever it is where you're going to see it every day, you need to write these 3 words down: service over platform.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's really what you're doing. You want to be serving your readers more than you are building your platform. Your platform will come if you are working from a heart of service with your readers.
That is so true.
So that's the first thing. The other thing I would say is that you need to run your race and keep your blinders on when you're doing your work. Like, you don't need to look to the left or to the right. You just need to set forth on the path that you have picked for you. I think it's really, really easy, especially in blogging, to start to compare somebody else's steps or what brand sponsorships they've got or how many followers they've got. It's really easy to start the comparison game. And once you start that, like, comparison is a thief of joy. And if you're blogging, you want to have joy. Because why would you want to do something that sucks the life out of you?
I will say, I think having a strong community of good people who can help keep you reminded of that is also really important for not relapsing. And, you know, I'm not trying to sell anybody on the network, but I love our members-only Facebook group because I feel like we've found that community where we're all there to support each other and remember that it isn't about who has these numbers and who has that numbers. And I think that, but then I'm in some other Facebook groups where it is a little bit kind of competitive and like, this person contacted me, did they contact you about this campaign? And I think one of the ways you can help yourself from relapsing is to surround yourself with the right community of people, right?
I agree with that. I mean, the more time that you spend with people that are going to encourage you, the more you're going to want to encourage other. Encouragement begets encouragement. And that's the most, I mean, we should be bloggers that are for each other and who are celebrating each other instead of being jealous.
Exactly, because every blog isn't meant to be a multi-million-dollar blog. Some blogs have their small core audience. Other blogs are meant to be like nationwide or whatever. So you just have to find where you belong and be okay in that place. And I think that's what we have to do. You have to find that okay spot. And that'll help you avoid that relapse too, because sometimes when you start looking at other bloggers and you're like, well, I've been doing this so much longer, I don't understand, and they just started and da-da-da, but they found their place. They found where they want to be, and they're working that area. So if you learn how to do the same thing, the success will come. Whatever success is meant to be yours will be yours. That looking at other people's stuff and trying to find out how they did, sometimes it can just stall you completely and just make you end up being just like standing still because you're so busy looking around, you stop moving.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, especially if you're working with sponsors or branded things, like they are looking for a certain demographic and they're looking for a certain voice, and they have it from their marketing team already, the kind of person that they're looking for. And so if you don't get picked for something, it's not personal. It's not because they think
it just wasn't supposed to be
business. It's a business decision for them.
And I'm going to ask one more question before we end, but I found this such a great touch point on your website during your Blogger Rehab series. And if you can talk super quick about this, asking yourself the question, what do you love about blogging and what do you hate about blogging, and writing it down, and why does that matter?
It matters because you want to do more of the things you love. If you love doing the social media, you love being on Pinterest and Instagram like I do. I hate being on Facebook and Twitter. So I spend more time there, and I use tools to farm out the work that I don't love to do. And so you can use different social media schedulers. You can hire a virtual assistant. You can swap with another blogger friend. I mean, there's no reason why you have to do the things that you hate doing the most all the time.
Oh, I love that. That's good to hear. And then before we end, is there any last piece of advice that you would like to give the blogger behind the blog when it comes to rehabbing themselves?
I would say muscle into the hard work. Hard work is called hard work because it's hard. It's not called hard work because it's easy. It's hard work. So if you lean into that hard work and really get real with yourself and write down the answers that are true instead of the way that you want them to be, you'll come out on the other side knowing more about who you are as a person, and that will help your blog.
Oh, I feel like I just went to blogger church. I love it.
Amen. Pass a plate, definitely.
I feel like these are such important questions and such an important thing for bloggers to hear and understand, and I think that these are tough questions that enough bloggers are not asking themselves. So, NJ, I so appreciate you being here and sharing this and giving us the insight. And folks, go check out her website. It's great in all ways. And check out the Blogger Network and head over to Miss T too. And we will see you guys out there. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.